Welcome to a very special episode of Mindful Mutiny. Today, you're going to listen to a comedian named Shameless Elle. Her story is so incredibly personal. I could tell by just watching her content that she was going to be somebody really special to interview. And I spent the last hour or so interviewing her, and her willingness to be open, her willingness to be real about her life and her struggles is something that is so incredibly refreshing. And so, for those of you out there that have ever felt vulnerable, for those of you who have been bullied, for those of you who have ever been in a place in your life where you have felt like things are just so tough that you're not exactly sure where your voice is or who you want to be, this is an episode that I think that you're really going to relate to. She's funny, she's real, she's insightful, she has an incredible story, and today is going to be just enjoy today's Mindful Mutiny. Welcome to the Mindful Mutiny podcast. I'm Jeremy Van Wert. I'm a healer and transformational coach. My mission is to change lives from stress to joy, stagnation to momentum, and burnout to hope. On the Mindful Mutiny podcast, it is about people who thoughtfully rebel against the status quo by bravely pursuing their highest potential. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to the Mindful Mutiny podcast because that is how we grow. So leave a review, make a comment, everything helps. And today, I can't tell you how excited I am to have this guest. Today, we have a wonderful comedian. Her name is Shameless Elle. How are you doing?
I'm okay. I'm dealing with an angry hemorrhoid right now, but it's good.
Yeah, that didn't take long.
Yeah, there you go.
We'll
Started
get
off
into
right.
that and other things. Today's guest is Shameless Elle, a social media sensation who skyrocketed to fame after joining TikTok during the lockdown in 2020. Initially, Elle began creating videos as a creative outlet, but her quirky and authentic content quickly gained traction, amassing over 1 million followers across TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. Despite being a shy child with low self-esteem, Elle's journey in the past 4 years has been truly transformative, leading to a newfound confidence and shamelessness. Embracing her quirks and imperfections, Elle has discovered that authenticity is truly what resonates with an audience, and she's never been happier. With her signature childlike giggling and refreshing honesty, Elle's channel offers a blend of humor and sincerity, creating a safe space where imperfection is celebrated. And Elle aptly puts, the only perfection I've found in my life is the ability to laugh at myself. And so, with all of that, Elle, I ran across your videos probably about a couple of months ago. Every single time I see them, I just die. They're so good. There's that one where the guy had I think he had his shirt off and he was chopping wood, and you're like, yeah,
Yeah.
chop the wood.
Safety first.
Yeah, get
Yeah.
rid of that wedge. So
Yeah.
so
Uh,
so can you explain more than just the bio? Like what is it that's your style? What do you do?
oh God. I mean, honestly, it started out with me just wanting to be part of that TikTok community that was just so weird and quirky and um everybody was doing lip syncing and being weird, and I thought, oh, let me try that. So I tried lip syncing at first, and that was terrible. It was absolutely horrible. And then I started telling stories, and people liked those. But it seemed that the weirder that I got and the sillier that I got, people really loved that. And I just kind of kept the ball rolling with that. So I guess when you're on my channel, you're going to see me being silly or quirky and making jokes, but you're also going to see, just real open honesty and, I don't know, just whatever else comes to mind, I guess. So yeah, I just kind of wing it most of the time.
You have a real specific charisma in the comedy because it's so connecting. it's almost like mesmerizing, and that when I am scrolling through and I see your face, I'm like, oh, what's going on now?
What's she
And
gonna say next? Yeah. Yeah, that's a very common compliment that I get.
and so like right at the beginning of 2020, when everything was going to hell, and the Tiger King was the big thing on TV, and everybody was just trying to invent something to do because there was nothing else to do. So you just start live streaming, or you just start putting up videos?
I just started putting up videos. Yeah, I started with a couple lip sync videos, and then I'd like show my friends and be like, "Look, look," and you get that look from them that's like, "Yeah, okay, wow, yeah." And then I very quickly realized I wasn't very good at that. So
But then you keep going with like, what are they? How would you describe it? Just like dialogues or skits, or
I would say a good portion of my videos are reaction videos. So I'm reacting to something that someone else has done and then adding my own quirk to it. Or it's just me ranting about this or that, realistic, everyday life and living that out loud.
and before the pandemic, what were you doing for a living?
Well, I still do the same thing that I was doing then. I own a salon and spa, and I also own an event production company. So I put on like different events and things like that, and I do a bit of charity work.
Oh, gotcha. So you have a lot of different things on your plate. This is one of the things,
Just
but it
one.
really helps you access larger audiences.
Well, I only started getting monetized last month, the last 10 days of April 2024.
Mhm.
And so I still haven't yet to get paid. I get paid on the 23rd of this month, and that will be the first time that I've ever gotten paid in 4 years, other than a few small brand deals here and there.
Congratulations. It's
Thanks.
wonderful.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. On my Rumble channel, I have made 4 cents as of 3 weeks ago. So I made my first money on Rumble doing all of this, and it's really paying off. I'm super excited.
What is Rumble? What is that?
Yeah, Rumble is like YouTube, and it's just a different kind of YouTube. And so
Oh,
yeah. So
okay.
I was able to really make a killing out there. Uh,
Yes,
yeah,
yes. I'm after this, me and you are gonna talk about some other platforms maybe you should join.
fair enough. Fair enough. I like it. Like I'm kind of, I consider myself pretty new to the game,
Mhm.
in all of this. But how many videos were you kind of putting up? What was your practice
For when?
when
Like
you were
now?
starting with things? How did you start getting things going? Like how many videos a week?
Oh, gosh. You know, I am really somebody there's so many people out there that they're like every day you got to do it every day. And sometimes I am an everyday creator. Sometimes I'll create 3 times a day, sometimes 4 or 5. And other times nothing because I do what I can when I can and when I feel inspired. And then I also take part in real life. And sometimes that means that you don't create sometimes. So yeah.
So at the beginning, you were doing the lip syncing videos. That wasn't quite the thing. And did you search for a while to kind of find your thing?
No, I mean, I just wung it. Like I said, I seen people doing it. I'm like, I could do that. I could do that. I could try that. And I did maybe 2 or 3. And then I realized I was very bad at it. And it was also a lot of work. Like I didn't realize, I think I recorded those 3 lip syncs like 30 times, like just a ridiculous amount of times to try and get the timing right. And like it's so difficult to remember every word and say it verbatim at the right time with the right expression with all of those things. It's really difficult actually. So I'm lazy and I was like, no, I'm gonna just tell my own stories because I can't do that. That's too much work for me. I just want to have fun and be silly and I don't like when it feels like work because obviously I have other jobs that I have to do. So yeah, that's kind of how I found my own niche is because I'm lazy and I want stuff that's easy.
Well, I congratulate your laziness. It's
Thank
it's
you.
really it's really worked
Thank
out.
you.
I'm glad
It's
that you've
really doing good.
embraced that.
Yeah.
Were you editing your own stuff at the beginning?
Always. I still do. I don't have any help.
That's amazing.
I don't no, I don't I haven't made money, yet. I mean, I don't have any money to pay anybody else, so no.
Well, you're bathed in cash from the other things that you do, like the event planning and the salon, right?
No.
Nope,
No,
no.
I okay, so I actually started my salon with the idea of making it more of a co-op to make a place that was easy for all of us to actually afford to work and not have somebody take all our money. So
Yeah.
the rent that I make doesn't even quite cover, like I rent my space to different girls, and the rent that I make from them doesn't even quite cover the amount that I pay to rent the place. So we all work and pay about the same amount just so that we can make more altogether. So I don't make money off of the people that work for me.
Well, that's a great thing. It sounds like a really super ethical thing. Do people recognize you who come in? Are you getting recognized around places?
I've in the 4 years that I've been creating, I think I've been recognized 5 times in my own town and maybe 5 times outside of my own town.
Is it weird?
Yes, I get very awkward. I get very, very awkward. I actually got the odd thing is that 2 of those 5 times happened just like a week ago, and I was in my car outside of Staples creating in my car as I usually do, and so I'm making a video. I didn't notice anything else around me, and then I just out of the corner of my eye caught this girl kind of walking past, but she was walking slowly, and when I looked over, we made eye contact. And she waved at me, and I was like, "Oh, hi," and I thought maybe I knew her, so I rolled down the window, and I'm like, "Hey," and I mean, sometimes you don't recognize people. I do event work and I do hairstyling, so I thought possibly I'd done her hair, or maybe it was
Yeah.
one of my kids' friends' moms or something. And she's like, "You're Shameless Elle," and I was like, "Oh, yeah, yeah." Okay. She's like, "I noticed you, I was sitting in my car and I noticed you and I called my sister right away." I'm like, "She's making the same hand movements and everything." I was like, "Oh, okay." Yeah, and I don't know, I get embarrassed because I'm like, I just got caught making videos in my car and I don't know, I always feel embarrassed about that. But then I went into the Staples and I was standing in line for the printer services, and there was a guy ahead of me, and he just kinda glanced back, and then he glanced back again, and he's like, "I love your work." I was like, "Oh, okay, thank you." Like, I don't know, I'm not used to it at all, so, no, I do get quite, shy and embarrassed about it, but yeah.
I'll bet you that you're just going to get more and more of that sort of thing. And
You you never
isn't that
know.
exciting? Are
Well,
you
I mean,
excited?
hopefully I'll be less awkward, but, you don't I mean, I don't think anybody just, like, expects people to recognize them. I don't I may no matter how large your page gets, well, maybe once I get really, like, if I got really large, but I don't think I've ever gotten to the point where I thought like, oh yeah, people know who I am. No, like you're just living your life, and I actually kept what I did online as a secret for a long time
Mm.
until it kind of got out of control, and then then people found it. But yeah, I don't really tell people.
Well, did
So.
it did it what did it do kind of socially for you, like in your life? Because you kept it a secret for a long time and people started discovering it. Like, what was that like?
Well, I had told maybe a couple close friends, and they would tease me and call me Talk Talk. That was their nickname for me. There's a couple different reactions that you get sometimes. People kind of laugh and they go, "Oh, you make videos on that child's app? Oh, yeah, oh, cool." And then there's people that get really excited. There's people that stare.
Mm, hmm.
Um, but, like, other than that, like, it there's it doesn't make me any more interesting to any of my friends. They're just like, "Oh, yeah, that's cool, cool, nice." Anyways, it's not that exciting for most people.
Well, I know that this story of yours is very interesting in the context of your life. Because one of the things that, it says in your bio is this whole like self-esteem thing and everything like that. And you've talked openly about a lot of things in your life that I think a lot of people can really connect with. Things that happened very early in your life. And
Right.
so Can you talk about your life and where you started and things that kind of affected you and your how you grew up?
Well, I was in a family of four, mother, father, sister. My sister's a half sister. Her father had died when she was about a year old. And my parents ended up getting divorced around the time that I was 5. And my dad was gone a lot. He worked in the oil field, and there was months at a time sometimes where I wouldn't see him. Um, I was in grade 1 when I peed my pants at the front of the class. And I remember standing there. I had to read this book that went along with a little tiny record. And I would stand there and flip the pages. And I don't know if it was because I was nervous or because I already had to use the washroom, but I had to go pee really bad. And
Yeah.
I was too nervous to stop the book because I was so shy that I just stood there, and I kept thinking in my head, like, if maybe if I just stand really still, the pee will go down my leg and into my shoe, and nobody will notice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that didn't happen. Um, and I stood in a puddle, just frozen, while people started making comments and stuff. And after that, it it completely changed my life.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody started making fun of me. They called me squatting dog.
Mm.
They called me just horrible, horrible names. And um, yeah, often I was the target of a lot of like bullying, getting gum put in my hair. I had my hair cut off. I had rocks thrown at me, and just the sheer amount of times that you'd be put in like a group situation, or like where team captains had to pick their teams, and I would always be last, and the team that didn't get me would always make fun of the team that did. And um, it just got really, really bad, to the point where my mom tried to switch me schools, and she did. But it was about 2 weeks before one of the kids from my old school was on the playground and noticed me and told everybody who I was, and I was right back to square one. So eventually, in grade 8, I moved to live with my father.
Mm.
I just needed a place that would allow me to be someone else. So I moved to live with my father, but he was working in the oil field, so I was alone a lot. And I ended up just having to take care of the house. And I had my own bank card to his account, and I would go and get the groceries and deposit his checks. And I lived on my own really, really young, and I ended up getting in a lot of trouble. Um, yeah, I my self-esteem, I don't think ever really recovered, and so I was always kind of searching for people to love me or like me, and that unfortunately led me to do things that I should have never done. But yeah, I don't know if it was that was that
No,
too much.
this is no, this was fantastic. As a matter of fact, like I watched this video where you had talked about this, and I was very touched by it because it is so profoundly and bravely honest. And I struggled at the same time in life with a lot of bullying in my grammar school. And you're there from K through whatever is usually like sixth or seventh grade, and you can't escape things that happened years and years and years earlier because it becomes folklore within the school of these things. And at the same time that you're trying to develop your own self-concept, and you feel just naturally toxic. And what an awful thing for a child to have around them. And you're too ashamed to even talk to your parents about it sometimes because you come home and you're kind of suffering in silence. You don't have the vocabulary or the understanding of just how absolutely terrible it actually is, how intolerable, and and all of these things. And so you kind of endure it, and then you look back on it as a parent and you go, I'm never going to let my child have to suffer that way. I just have to know about what's going on and enough to fight for them. And so when that sort of thing happens, when a person is so singled out, when a child is so singled out like that, it has lifelong consequences for self-esteem and development and self-talk and concept and everything. And so, I can definitely understand, having gone through a version of that myself early on. And that I think for me in high school, and I don't know if it was like for you, um, I was busy play acting a different role of myself in order to keep the bullies away from me. And for me, it was wild and crazy guy. But for you, what was it?
Promiscuity.
Okay, okay,
I
which is very common for a young lady to do in that situation.
I wanted to be loved. I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to be loved, and when I moved to live with my father, I was in grade 8. So you're right at that age where guys are starting to be interested, and nobody had been interested in me until I moved. And when I moved, all of a sudden I had all this attention, and I soaked it up. And I was a stage 5 clinger. I was just completely obsessed with anybody that liked me. And I don't think I would have said it then, but I just wanted to be whatever they wanted.
Mm-hmm.
That was, that was it. I just wanted to be loved, and I thought, whatever they wanted was going to secure their love for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
it works for short periods of time.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know.
and so on top of that, there was always, drinking and drugs, and I just tried to fit in. I tried really hard to just be cool, you know. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's
And with
it,
my father gone, it was easy to do whatever I wanted.
and then as you kind of like move out from the high school world and you get more out into everything else, where do you go from there?
Ooh, well, I actually met my husband when I was 14 years old.
Okay.
He was my father's and my roommate, and he was 18 when, no, 19 when he came to live with us. And at 14, he came into the house, and I just thought he was the most beautiful man I had ever seen, and I fell in love with him. And but he had a girlfriend, and they had dated for the next 2 years. And so when I was about 16, I made my move, uh, and uh, and we started hooking up, for lack of a better word. Um, and that just kind of continued on for about a month when my father came home a, a little bit earlier than he said. And and unfortunately, we were in the midst of uh, uh,
Amorous
canoodling.
affections.
Yeah. We were canoodling, and so we heard the door start to open, and my ex jumped out of bed and pulled his pants on and like raced out of his bedroom door, which unfortunately was facing the door my father was coming in.
Mm,
So when he raced out of the door, my father's not dumb, and he very quickly realized something was afoot, and he went looking for me. Um, and I should have been at school at that point, but I was skipping. And
hmm
he seen my shoes, and he started looking all over for the house for me. And I froze. I absolutely just froze. I didn't put clothes on. I didn't do anything. I just sat on, mine and my father's roommate's bed, frozen, naked. And my father came and opened his door and looked at me. And then he closed the door, walked past my ex that was sitting on the couch, went and sat at the table facing away from him, and he just said, "She better get to school on time." And and then basically that set forth a chain of events where my ex well my father's and my roommate at the time got kicked out, and I was just um beside myself because I was in love with him. And I decided to move to Cold Lake to live with my mom. And we decided to continue dating. So he would drive to see me up in Cold Lake, Alberta, every 4 days. And then I finished high school, and I went to college in Edmonton for hairstyling.
Mhm.
and he continued to come and see me there, driving back and forth. And yeah, that was I went to school for hairstyling and became a hairstylist. And then I did that for a while and eventually married that man, and that didn't last. But we were together for 14 years, so
Lasted for a while. So then you're with him for 14 years and you're doing hair and everything like that. And of course, like the concept of being some sort of celebrity is probably last on your horizon, right? You have a couple of children at this time?
I did. I had my first child at 24, and
Okay.
the next one at 28, I think. Oh, no, 25 and 28.
Okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. And then the marriage doesn't work out and uh kind of what happens there?
What happened to the marriage?
Yeah.
Oof. Well, like most marriages, there was a point where things had become quite stale. I think that was maybe about year 10. We started trying to, find different ways to spice up our relationship, and opened some doors that were, doors you can't close again.
Okay.
And it just set a chain of events in motion that were hard to come back from. I'll say that. Here's the thing: is that my ex and I, we had a very tumultuous end to our relationship, but out of respect for him and my two boys, I'll leave that part out because there's some bits to the
Sure.
story that my sons don't know, and I don't care to tell them all of that. So
Sure, that's
yeah.
perfectly fine. And so you kind of go into more self-reliance and single mom and you're kind of making it work and everything and are you doing events at this time and
Oh, well, no. So we decided to separate, and when my youngest son was about a year and a half, I moved out on my own with the kids. Obviously, we then shared custody. It was a couple years down the road, unfortunately, that my ex had gotten into drugs.
Hmm.
This is something that my boys do know. But unfortunately, I had to take the boys full time at that point, and that went on for about 4 years before he was able to get sober. In that time, though, when I found out, I, I don't know, I don't know if I'd say I spiraled, but I just got so angry, and I'm the type of person that when I get angry or sad, I get really sick. So I ended up with pneumonia, and I could barely get up to do the dishes. I'd do the dishes for 5 minutes and have to go lie down because I was so sick. And I was so angry that he was able to have such an effect on my life 2 years out of our divorce. Sorry. uh, I was so angry that that was what brought me out of it. I remember sitting there one night just angry that he had this effect on my life, and I just thought, no, you're not going to have it. You're not going to get to decide who I'm going to be and how happy I will be. And I am never going to describe myself as, the sad single mom or have anybody else describe me as that. And so that year, I started my event company. I raised $50,000 for brain cancer. I was recognized as the top 20 under 40 in my community. I pushed harder than what I had energy for, just to prove to myself that that was never going to be who I was. The sad, single mom with the, you know, drug addict ex-father.
this is a major seminal event in your life. You raised that kind of money out of your effort, out of your passion for this cause. And as you're doing it, what's going on inside you about your you have this historic lack of confidence and everything like that, but you go for something, you got your hands around it and you're making it happen. What does that do inside you to your confidence and your self-concept?
I think all of us, we think about different scenarios happening in our life, and you don't think you're strong enough. You never think you're going to be strong enough to deal with certain things. And this was that year. 2016 was probably the hardest year in my life. On top of all those things that I listed, I also had my salon fall apart due to just absolutely horrid, horrid employee. And my best friend passed away. She passed
Oh my
away in April
goodness.
2016. It was the hardest year of my life, and I I just tried to keep going. You don't worry about confidence and you don't worry about strength. You just keep going. You just keep putting one foot in front of the other and trying to be okay, because I you have two little boys, and what's the choice there? The choice is to crumble and let them watch, or just put one foot in front of the other. You just keep going.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you most certainly did. And so we're at 2016,
Mm.
and you're making it work. You don't have really anybody else to kind of depend on, and you're running these businesses and being more and more successful, because this issue with the salon that you're talking about, I mean, these things, they just happen, particularly when you run across somebody who is destructive,
Yeah.
and then you have to rebuild sometimes after things get really bad, but you keep picking yourself up and doing it. And what happens in the next couple of years as you're experiencing this higher and higher level of being able to figure it out and make it.
It was a mix of a lot of things. At the end of 2016, I did meet someone that I entered into a 4-year relationship with. Ooh, trying to, sorry, I'm trying to remember here. You might have to just give me a minute. So I entered into a relationship for 4 years with someone. There was a lot going on at that time. I had um, full custody of my kids, but I was getting berated by drug addicts that were owed money by my ex, and people knocking at my door and sending me messages, and you get scared at first, and then you find your strength, and you tell them, well, he owes me money first, so don't ever come knocking here again. And I mean, I don't know, you just scramble through. And those next 4 years, I had fallen in love with the guy that I was dating, and unfortunately, it was a love that was just really not returned in a fair way, because I always needed to be better. There was always something that could be just a little bit better, or I could be a little bit cleaner or a little bit lighter, like not like I could weigh less, I could dress better, all of those things. I remember one time I dressed up to the nines and I had everything matching. My ex was from Dubai, and he was actually East Indian but grew up in Dubai. And I dressed to the nines. I got this really beautiful dress and did my hair, and the shoes matched the dress, and I thought he would walk in and for once just like see me and like get excited. And he walked in and kind of just walked past,
Mm.
and so I waited for him to come out of the washroom, and then I said, "Well, what do you think? Do you like it?" And he looked me up and down with this very analyzing kind of glance, and he said, "I think maybe just add a necklace to it or something to, I don't know," and then walked away.
Mm.
And I
Mm.
just thought, okay, I think that was the realization that I was never going to be quite good enough. There was always a reason.
Right.
He had his parents that lived in Dubai. They were both East Indian, and I had two kids at the time. I was a single divorced mom, and it was never the problem that I was white, but it was a problem that I was divorced, and it was very taboo in their culture. So when we had talked about going to see his parents in Dubai 2 years into our relationship, his mother started to cry at the mention of it, because she didn't want the rest of the family to meet me. and it was okay for him to date me, but not to be anything serious with me. So after his parents had voiced that they didn't want him to bring me back home, that kind of started the downturn of our relationship. And we ended up breaking up a number of times, but the last time was my son's 12th birthday, and he got extremely drunk and assaulted me. That was something that you never expect is going to happen. Of course, I don't think anybody does, but more so, it was something that I had a lot of learning to do from, because I think in my head I thought this only happens to a certain type of people. It happens to people that, are living a certain kind of life. And man, was I wrong. But I also still had that fear in my head, that people would see me that way. That when if anybody heard about it, they would see me and think that I lived a certain kind of life. And I didn't want anybody to know that, because I was scared. So I was very silenced. I just didn't tell anybody for a long time, and I didn't tell my parents. My mom for a year, my dad for 2 years. So I definitely learned a lot about why so many victims stay silent, and I had a lot of work to do after that. After that, I ended up with quite a bit of anxiety, and needed a lot of therapy, and had a whole new challenge ahead of me at that point.
Just trying to kind of give that space here, because from the women that I've spoken to who have this happen to them, they, after the fact, can look at it and say, I should have seen it coming. But in the moment, there's nothing that prepares you for the moment when it happens. And that in that moment and in the aftermath, there is shame. How could I let this happen to me? There's the embarrassment of, where am I in life that this is going on? And then what is hopefully the integration, the recovery, the therapy, the self empathy and understanding, and a family that can be supportive and loving to you in this. And it sounds like you sought all of those things, even though it took you time.
Yeah, um, it definitely does. There's honestly, there's so many emotions that go with going through something like that. I remember the first few months being extremely hard. I did a lot of writing, a lot of poetry to try and get it out without having to tell anyone. But the hardest part was the times that I missed him. Those were the hardest
Yeah, yeah.
moments, because you shame yourself. You're just like, what's wrong with you? Why
Hmm.
why do you miss this person? Right? Like, but he was such a big part of my life, and we were very close. But yeah, I've since realized that all those things are very normal. It's very normal to have a variety of emotions and struggle after
Yeah.
something like that. So
It is in large part like the stages of guilt of grief. It's
yes.
it's a kaleidoscope of different things that shift back and forth, and then you feel a certain amount of shame for going, why does part of me love him?
Yeah.
Like these sorts of things. And so a major heartbreak that you really needed to work on, the difficulty and complication of healing. Yeah. And so as you're walking out of this, where do you go next?
From right now, or you
No,
mean
no,
from
no,
then?
from that time. From that time.
Oh, well, it was about a year of just trying to be alone and be by myself and figure out how to never let that happen to me again. So,
Sure.
um, I did some counseling, and I did a lot of writing. I just spent time by myself, and then I started reading, like, just kind of books on how to be a stronger person. Because I think at that point I realized I was dating people that never really loved me. I was dating people that, they liked me, but I could be just a little bit better.
Mm,
And I think I thought I deserved that. I think I didn't realize I would ever actually find somebody that just loved me wholeheartedly. My whole life being spent with people that didn't really love me or didn't really like me, that felt very normal and natural to me. And so I began to work on healing that part of me, to become a whole person that didn't give a shit if people didn't like me and would rather be alone than be with anybody that didn't love me in the way that I deserved. And so I worked on becoming that person. Unfortunately, I just became a bitch, but but
We all have our coping strategies, right?
yeah. But I'm working on that. So we're getting there. Yeah.
So okay, so then you're working on this healing, you're working on everything, and then the whole world grinds to a halt,
Yes.
and all of a sudden this virus is going everywhere. We're all locked in,
Well,
and
this actually happened after that.
this happened after you started making videos before that.
Yes, I
You have
did.
to whiteboard this whole thing.
I have a very terrible memory, so sometimes I'm like, "Okay, yes."
So
Yes.
so in other words, ADHD.
Mhm, mhm. Yes.
I see you. Uh, and so like in the midst of this, you're starting to make videos?
So, I started making videos in the lockdown in, 2020,
Mhm.
and my son is 14, right now, turning 15 right away. So, this was just 3 years ago, so this was 2021 when all of this happened.
So in the midst of doing something that's fun and creative, this very dark cloud occurs in your life. And I would imagine that you kind of go on a bit of a hiatus for a little bit of time. Is that what happened?
Yeah, I've taken 3 or 4 breaks from social media. So,
Okay.
at that point, I did take a break from social media. I think I continued to do a couple of videos and pretend that I was fine for a bit,
Hmm.
um, before I realized I wasn't. So,
Hmm.
I think you don't know what to do with yourself, and so you just kind of try to keep going until it falls apart.
Hmm.
So that's what I did.
Mm. As you work towards your long road of healing and all of this, was the humor something that was a healing thing for you to begin to create again? Is that a part of the process?
Mm. Ooh, I don't know if I've ever thought about that. I, you know, I do know from recent circumstances that it is. I had taken a break from about September until April of this year, and I just came back to social media in April, I think. Um,
Really?
yes, yeah. Yeah, if you look back, I have, like, basically nothing from September to April, of this year.
Amazing, because in April you started hitting my news feed hard. It
Yeah.
was just like, "Who's this?"
Well,
Sorry,
that's
go.
when I came back, yeah. That's when I came back. So, yeah, I had taken a long break, and I took a long break, honestly, because I had found a relationship that I was really happy in, and I didn't know how to be shameless Elle, anymore
Uh-huh.
in a relationship. So so I just, I don't know, I guess I was taking a break. I had also gotten very overwhelmed myself because I had started a podcast last year, and, in September, I just dropped it. I ran for the hills and just kinda left everything because I just was too overwhelmed,
It's a
and,
lot.
so I spent the last 8 months just being, in real life and enjoying my real life, and there was a small piece of me missing. There was a small piece of me missing, and I kept trying to, work on myself and do other things and read and all of these things, and it's not like any of those things are bad, but, I started doing social media again in April, and my boyfriend, I think, is the first one that pointed it out. It was just a couple weeks after I started. He's like, "You are just glowing again." He's like, "You just look so happy." And I'm like, I am happy. I love the online community. I love seeing the people that are on my page just regularly and talking to them, and hearing from them and hearing about their lives. And it's such a wonderful like space for me, because when you spend so long with people that don't really love you, and you come to this, crazy place called TikTok, and all of a sudden people love all the weird things. They love all the things you've been trying to hide, your whole life. It was very validating that I'm the best me. And so I love them for that. I love them for that.
You just put words to something that was kind of where I was going to go, because your style of humor, the reason that it reaches so far is because of that wonderful authenticity, and that you talk about things that people, we know that we do, but we don't talk about them, and that's what makes it so utterly hilarious. And you put words to things in ways that are so playful and so fun, and the more authentic you are, the more funny it actually is. When you've got a couple of videos just starts with, do you guys ever, and then it's like something that is just really, well, yeah, I think we all do that. And so, you're sharing your openness, you're just being who you are. Was that hard for you at first?
Yes. I remember when I first started making videos, I'd make like 40 attempts at the same video, you know?
Huh.
I'd do it over and over again because I hated the way my eyebrow stuck up too high on one side, and I didn't like my double chin in the other cut, and I didn't like the way I said this or the way I said that, and I was very hard on myself. And I think the more you watch, people online, you start to see that there's all these wonderful people online that they are so happy being themselves. And even when they're all the things that, you're told are not perfect
Right.
or whatever from society. There's so many creators that I love and that I follow that are just so authentically themselves and uninhibited and unfiltered, and they say all the wrong things and do all the wrong things, and people love it. And that is my saving grace, is finding that out and figuring out that people like weird, and they like relatable, and they like honest.
You're right about that, and I just have to say that that's something that I have struggled with a little bit, because I mean, as you can see, like my whole like thing is very polished. It's very, and I mean, I like that because I think it's very consistent and whatnot, but I'm really trying to branch out into making videos that are less perfect,
Yeah.
making videos that are more of, I mean, I caught a mouse, and I had this whole like series of me trying to catch this mouse, and I caught it in this humane trap, and so I let it go. And so I've got this whole like odyssey of me catching this mouse finally, and then going to the forest and letting it go, and it's triumphant music and stuff like that. But like when I was starting this whole thing, I was so careful, so perfect, and I realized that creates a boundary, because I'm almost like this little carbon cutout of Tom Brokaw or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of the more authentic fun me that my friends know about me, but your willingness to just be that open. What you just, your story that you shared with me, it's so refreshingly real, because
Thanks.
it's not projecting some different version of yourself that you are trying to be. You are just simply who you are. And with so many people that struggle with being who they are in, the modern time, young people struggling with the way they look or the way they are, and these sorts of things, to have that kind of honesty being out there, it's an incredibly refreshing thing. And that's what I think just makes your channel and your content land so well, is it's just that. I mean, you just get the sense that you're sitting in a car with Elle.
I'd like to say though, I think a lot of people really believe that when you just finally let go, you are just you. You know, you're just you from then on. I am actively struggling and trying to be me every day. Every day I have to try to just, remind myself, like, be yourself. You don't have to do this. And so it's not something that I just found the magic button and I just like let go and I'm me, because I have to remind myself every day to, you know, pull down that veil that we try to
Mm.
hide the little parts of ourself with every day. So I am actively working on being me every single day. And it's not something that for me that I've found is just like I found it, I hit it. No, it's like it's every day you got to continue to love yourself and say, you know what, this is enough. This is okay.
So from the upbringing that you had and those old wounds and those old views of yourself, are those things that you feel yourself healing from the more content that you create and the more transparency that you have, or that sort of thing? Is it like that?
Well, truth be told, I there's so much more to my story that honestly I've written out and written books, and I want so badly to tell my story, but I can't. I can't tell that story without hurting all the people involved, you know, and and not because I would hurt them, or that any of it is lies or anything like that, but because everybody has secrets in their closet. And by telling my story, I let out a lot of secrets that a lot of people have. And so there's part of me that still feels silenced. There's starting,
Hmm.
like, I feel like I can't tell my own story because I would never want to hurt anybody and I never want to do those things. So maybe I'll tell it when I'm 80 and everybody else is dead. I don't
That's what I would do. I definitely write it all down and then have a checklist of people who, and you check who dies, and then
know.
once the
Yeah.
last person
One
dies,
more.
oh my gosh, I've been waiting for this day.
One more to go.
With the content that you create, the kind of the level of transparency that you have, your fans must send you things that are kind of complimentary and talk about how they connect to you. So what are people's reactions to you?
Well, I get a variety. I get people that send me lovely messages. I get people that, tell me their husband's been in the hospital for a week and watching my videos has brought them a smile each day. So stuff that's really lovely like that. And then I get proposals and
Oh, you have options now.
yeah, I just I find it really awkward. I will say, if you're listening, my email is for business. This is for business. So stop emailing me. I don't respond to any non-business emails. So I just it's a little bit too much. I don't really do DMs either because I find it really difficult to keep up with doing the content that I do, responding to comments. That takes a large portion of my life already. So the problem with messages, as much as I want to go in and say like thank you, when I do that, then they respond again. And then so say I respond to 20 messages, uh 19, 18 of those, they'll respond and say something within the next week or two. And then I got to respond to those ones. And it feels like this vicious circle. So, I do see them, I do look at them. And, most of them, I would say are lovely. Some of them are very inappropriate and not welcomed, but yeah.
I think I know what those are.
Yeah.
I think every female creator knows what those are.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's the unfortunate part of doing the content that I do. A lot of people see the content that I do, and well, there is a small piece of me that is that really silly flirt, and awkward person. That is me It's a small piece of me, but at the same time, it's a character when I do it every day for a living, right? So, unfortunately, there are a good amount of men out there that see these video reactions where I'm drooling over some guy and they're like, she wants it. She wants it. All day long, she wants it. And she's just walking around bold legged, And so they will send me messages like, I know you want it. I know you want it.
Oh
Like, send me
gosh,
the and I was like, "Dude, I'm
people can
doing
be
this
so
for a living."
gross.
Yeah, yeah, they are.
Well,
Very
it's
aggressive.
I imagine so, and people have their own projection of what they're seeing in when they're talking to a performer, or they're watching a performer. And your nation, in my estimation, is most well known for the greatest rock band that has ever graced the earth, which is Rush. uh
Oh,
oh, you didn't know this?
no.
Okay. No, they're from Toronto, and
Oh,
done a
that's
like
the
kind of like,
opposite side of Canada.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm all the way over here in BC.
But I know what they're all about.
Oh.
So but they would write things about their own stardom, and the lead singer uh, got hit in the face with a lighter during a concert. And they're really not that kind of band. They're not like a heavy metal band or anything like that. But he was so upset, but he just realized that that was that person's weird way of connecting with me on stage. And the person was arrested and everything like that. But people have these weird ways of connecting with this projection of what it is that they see,
Right.
and what it is that they what it is that they're having their own reaction to what they're seeing, and they're trying to relate to it in some way that is their own, that comes from their own weirdness and background and everything like that. So
Yeah.
I would imagine that it would be kind of a weird thing to deal with when you're getting DMs and stuff like that, that is just, you don't know how to respond to it.
I just delete them and
Yeah.
block them. I do. I just delete them and block them. There's if they're like really funny. I did have this one guy DM me audio messages, and the audio messages were so unhinged, like just the wildest things that you can imagine. And he started off by telling me that I was crazier than a bag of kittens. And then he started to
Okay.
describe that it wasn't just a bag of kittens, but it was like disabled kittens on their period with cerebral palsy. And I was just like, what? Like, and then,
Exceedingly detailed.
yeah. So he was telling me I was crazier than a bag of kittens. And then in the next message, he said, but he still wanted to tap that. And he'd tap me like a maple tree. And he went on about how he'd like to tap me. And then, and then, and then the next audio
Well, he
message
really kept
was,
it Canadian.
oh yeah. Yeah. And then the next message was, scratch that. I just found out you have a son and he plays basketball. And that's a Lizzie sport, is what he said. And he's like, and no son of mine is ever gonna play basketball. And he's like, uh so uh no strings attached. I don't ever want to see that son or something. Like it was the wildest DMs I've ever heard in my life, like, but it was actually quite hysterical, so I had a laugh.
Sounds like you kind of like need to do a reading.
Well,
Like a
I used the audio messages to make a couple of videos, so you can go and listen to them by
That is so
watching some of my
fabulous.
videos. Yeah.
That's just delicious. I love it.
Mhm. Yeah. So some of them crack me up, like, some of them really make me laugh, but very few of them are funny, like, genuinely funny.
Well, I'm sure glad that you responded to me in your email box. But I wasn't
Business.
I wasn't trying to
Business.
be weird.
No, anything business, I'm of course gonna look at and respond to, whether it's no or yes, I'm gonna say something.
Can you talk about the space that you have occupied in the strength that you have built in yourself and in your identity and in your direction over the past couple of years? Even though you've had times where you've had to kind of take off, do a little bit of healing, and then kind of recalibrate and come back. Where are you now in your journey of who it is that you're trying to kind of figure out?
I would say that I mostly want to relate to women. I want to find women. I just I've realized that, you know, so much in my life I have missed out on those friendships and those people that are like relatable, you know, because I didn't have friends growing up until I was, you know, older. Like I didn't have any friends during the time that I was being bullied from, you know, like grade 1 to grade 8. And then in grade 8, I was the guy's girl. So
Mm-hmm.
I was always trying to get guys to like me, so I didn't hang out with the girls. I hung out with all the boys, and so the girls hated me for that. They hated me. And then I was the girlfriend. So I was with my partner for 14 years, and I was the girl that ditched all of her friends to be at his beck and call. And that really made me a shallow soul of a person. And I didn't learn to realize the value of having wonderful women in your life, and how much you can learn from each other and be there for each other. So my goal is to slowly transition to just being a relatable influence, being somebody that makes it okay to, you know, be normal and be yourself and be with other weird women, I guess. I don't know. Right now that's the goal. I'd also I'd love to write something. I'd love to be an author. I'd love to do motivational speaking if I could find something that was motivational. You know, I just I like being around people, and truthfully, I don't have a strong direction in where I'm going. The only thing that I know for sure is that I want to be like my grandfather. You know, he was this like fireman in a very small town, and he was so loved. Like he was just so loving, and you know, showed everybody how to take time to just listen and be there for people even when he was in a rush, you know. And it was so much that the whole town just shut down when he died. You know, they closed all the stores, and just to be able to stand outside the funeral home because there wasn't enough seats and there wasn't enough room to stand, so people stood outside. And I just thought, wow, like, you know you've done well, you know, when people will close down their store just to stand outside. So
Right.
I want to do something like that, that, you know, my kids can be proud of, and um, look at me and say, like, you did it. You did, you know, things you didn't think were possible, and you made a mark on society in a way that, you know, makes them proud. And while I'm the silly, weird mom, and there's a lot of people that may think that that's for like the furthest thing from what I do, being yourself and being weird without the fear of anybody saying anything is a huge accomplishment for me.
Well, it's a huge accomplishment for anybody who is able to access that real, true self because it's often an uncomfortable place to stand in the
Mm,
midst of the world just being you because people can be so rude about it.
yeah.
And there's such a powerful push to conform, a powerful space to fill as a conforming person. The other mothers of other kids, how do they treat you?
Well, I've had multiple different reactions, you know.
Yeah.
Um, I've definitely had the stare down
Okay.
from some, and I've had people that are very interested and think it's really cool, and I've had people that scoff at it. So
Hmm.
I've had a variety of responses, and I think some of them you just never know as well. There's people that never say anything but have their own thoughts, and it's just none of my business, and it's okay. It's I honestly I think back, and at this point I realized that my entire life was built for this, you know, because
Yes.
of all of the, you know, hatefulness that I had growing up. I was built for hate on the internet. It's you know, it's never easy to take, but at the same time I am very good at just swiping those comments away and moving on with my day. They
Brilliant.
don't they don't hurt. And so it's, the only things that would ever hurt me are the feelings of my children. If they were hurt by anything that I did, that hurts me. Or, the family and friends that I keep close to me, those are the people that can hurt me.
What is something that you feel is most important for young people right now to kind of keep in mind about things? And what I mean about that is, I grew up at a time where social media wasn't really a thing, but now social media is so alive in the lives of kids as they grow up and they build themselves into a self concept and all of this. And they're learning how to engage with the world through the lens of what they're seeing, and in
Mhm.
some cases what they're interacting with on social media. And for coming from your background of the things that were difficult for you and the things that you really feel are the most important things for young people to do, be, and know, what are the things that you would kind of impart to young people who are growing up in this age?
Well, I mean, I think Gen Alpha and Gen Z has done things that we've never done in this world. They've stood up and fought, tremendously and really accomplished a ton of different, changes in the world. And I love that about them. I love that they're so outspoken. I think the part where a lot of them tend to fall short is taking time. They often don't take enough time to sit with things and really let what's happening marinate. And I think there needs to be a little bit more empathy and ability to sit in someone else's perspective and forgive, and just be a little bit more forgiving. I think there's a lot of people that want to jump to canceling and calling people out without really ever giving them the chance to speak and to hear them. I think that young people want to stand up and be themselves and be a million different things at once and sometimes don't realize it's okay to just be. It's okay to try things and do things without deciding who you are at 14 years old. You don't have to. You can just experience the world and try things and let them fail and try new things and go from there. Um, I think you need to definitely figure out who you are and be okay with that before you can fight and stand up for everyone else and tell them all the things that they should be. There's a lot of people that are out there telling this person and that person that they're wrong and never really sit and look at themselves. So I think there just needs to be a bit more space and time taken before acting. And other than that, I hope that they continue to make the change in the world that they've been doing and um, find themselves and find grace and find forgiveness with people that make mistakes because we all do that.
Well, thank you for that. And I definitely echo your sentiments there. It is introspection and self awareness is every bit as important as, going towards, the strongly moral stance. So yeah, I want to thank you in so many ways because not only is your content fun, but it's uplifting. And for every young person who's been the last one picked, and for every young person who has been outed or embarrassed or had stories made up about them or felt alone or been bullied, to see the bright future that there is in just simply being you, that there's a beauty in it, there's a strength in it. And there's too often these days, these terrible issues with anxiety and depression that come out of people trying to be something that they're not, and that in truly embracing that strength and that humility, there's humor there, there's fun, um there's self self-awareness and self-realization, and that that beauty that you really project out there with what you do. And I know that you're working on being fun and silly and everything like that, but there's a deeper level to all of it because of the story that you just told. And because of that, it resonates so much more deeply with people. And it's like almost your story kind of comes with these things, and it gives strength to people, because I know that when I watch it, I feel um, not only just that these things are funny, but that you're willing to talk about things that at one point in your life were exceedingly painful. And so on behalf of all the people out there who haven't been able to thank you for the way that you have helped them feel joined and not weird and not alone and everything, I just want to thank you for being a ray of light in the world and projecting something out there that is uplifting and beautiful, and just simply being you in this wonderful way that you are. And there's no pretense. You are just simply the beautiful you. And so thank you for your willingness to come and tell a story that at times can be painful, because what you do in this is you help other people out there feel not so alone. And if there's any higher calling in this world, I don't know what it is. So thank you for just being you.
Sorry, I told you before I'm not great with nicenesses. I'm like, thank you. You're making me cry over here. That means a lot. Thank you.
Well, absolutely. And please don't forget to like and subscribe to the Mindful Mutiny podcast. And in a lifetime, there are more decisions than anybody can count. Living the highest form of yourself is the most rewarding thing that you can do. Make incredible, positive, risky, and bold decisions to be the highest version of you. Now go be something great.